Good evening, everyone. This is Reading for Charity again. On Wednesday, just double check. Yes, Wednesday. So it was a shortened week this week because we did the review on Monday. But today it's going to be, picking up to my books, Porno by Irving Welsh. So let's do the usual intro, which is, this is a entirely donation-led thing. We're reading for the Archie Foundation at the moment, which is a fantastic charity that helps kids in the north east of Scotland. They've raised over £750 for them so far. I'd like to raise some more. All the books that I'm reading have been chosen by donation. So I've got some good ones and I've got some absolute stinkers on the list. Ones I've enjoyed, ones I haven't enjoyed, and ones I've yet to read. This is 27 through, so we're already over a quarter way through this, which is quite good, quite enjoyable. Yes, so today, porno. What to say? What to say about this book? Well, let's start off with, I didn't enjoy it. Let's start off with that. I'll let in on a dreadful secret for a Scottish person. I don't like Trainspotting. I don't like it. I don't like the film. I don't like the book. And it's one of those curious ones where I actually read the book before I saw the film. I'm never been a fan of books about terrible people. I like to have someone to root for. I like to have not necessarily a hero, but at least somebody, relatable in a book. This book has none whatsoever. It is a book about terrible people doing terrible things. And I'll get my main criticism out of the way. So, because I quite like comparing books to other books I've already read in this series, it's an awful lot like Mercy Boys. Now, Mercy Boys was written obviously as a homage almost to Trainspotting. It's obviously the way that Scots writers have to write to get noticed by publishers. Be the next Trainspotting essentially. But porno has exactly the same problems that I felt in Mercy Boy, which is there's an awful lot of characters that do an awful lot of things for no really well explained reason other than they're bastards, and their voices are very, very much too similar. So when Welsh switches between Sick Boy and Renton and Spud and Begbie, the voice doesn't change significantly. Maybe Begbie. Begbie's probably the only one where the voice is a little bit different, and that brings me straight back to Mercy Boys, because the only voice in Mercy Boys that was a little bit different was again the psychopath. So it was frustrating that I had the same problems, and I think it might be just an affliction of Welsh himself and the people who are trying to emulate him, such as Mercy Boys. You'll notice that the title of this video is not porno. It is P*RNO, in a terrible attempt to try and not get myself banned from YouTube or Twitch. We'll see how that goes. Whoever chose this book, and I know who it was, but I think the down is anonymous. Didn't really do me any favours with that one. And sourcing it is a horrible thing as well, because every single search engine on the face of the planet just hides the word porno. You type in porno into search engine, and you know what you're going to get, and it ain't this book. So there's a very carefully crafted set of search keywords required to actually find this book in the first place, which is possibly why Trainspotting 2 was Trainspotting 2, to kind of avoid any and all of those problems. Yeah, but back to the book. So yes, I have the same problem with porno that I had with Mercy Boys, which is that it's dreadful things done by dreadful people in voices that are very, very similar. It wasn't quite as bad as Mercy Boys in that you could usually tell which character it was purely by what they were doing. Mercy Boys, because they all sat around and did nothing and just dreamt and thought, it was impossible at times to tell who it was without actually going back 10 pages and checking. This one's a wee bit easier because there's a wee bit more actual things happening, but the internal monologues and the way they speak is still very, very similar. That's my main problem with, or one of my main problems with the book. The actual, well, let's get over characterization. The last bit about the characterization that I didn't really like very much was the character of Nicky. Now, Welsh is kind of known for his interesting characters. I was going to use the word strong, but strong might be the wrong thing to say. Interesting characters, well written characters that suit the book he writes. Nicky seems to flaunt that particular assumption about Welsh. Flaunt's the wrong word again. Go against that assumption about Welsh, in that it's a very two-dimensional character. She's, a bulimic, sex pot, beautiful woman who can have any man she wants and can turn her sexuality on and off at a snap of her fingers. She's such a dreadfully two-dimensional character for everything else that Welsh tries to say in the book. She's disappointingly unfeminist, I think is maybe the right ways. You understand why she's there to facilitate the plot rather than actually be a real character, I think, because she doesn't really say anything about the world that Welsh uses his main cast for. She just seems to be there to be sex on legs for it, which is, it's disappointing. And I think it probably isn't. It wouldn't be fair to raise objections about Welsh. Say he's a misogynist or anything. I don't think that's true. He writes very good female characters in other books. Just so happens that this one has a bad one. So in terms of the rest of the characterization, outside of my problem with the voices, that the character of Nicky, I think, was just detrimental and purely there to service the plot. The plot itself, it's relatively straightforward, and not particularly unexpected. It follows the same broad path as Trainspotting in that they finally manage to get a score together, and then there's the twist at the end, and it's not what you expect. Okay, fine. No spoilers. I try not to do spoilers in any of these, though I have been terrible in some of the other reviews. I almost said something completely inappropriate with Mein Kampf. Let's not do that one. So the story itself is relatively straightforward, and if you've ever read or seen Trainspotting, you'll see a similar path develop through this book. That doesn't make it any more palatable or excellent. It's still terrible people doing terrible things. What Welsh uses that story and those characters for, though, is to tell kind of like a different story, and it's frequently about Scotland. Trainspotting was as much a story about Scotland as it was about Sick Boy and Renton, etc. It was the rundown, cancerous side of being a post-industrialist country with no industry, and in porno, Trainspotting 2, if you like, he's talks about how Scotland's changed. It has become more, since really the independence movement has sprung up, and Scotland's gained again a little bit more of a sense of self, mixed together with the rise of the tourism again, a little bit of tartan and shortbread in there as well. But suddenly Scotland has a voice and identity, and it has more things going for it than it used to. It's now got, the places in Leith, for example, that he talks about, which were run down, now have fancy coffee shops and boutiques in them. Scotland's no longer reliant on heavy industry for its money, or the lack of heavy industry for its benefits. Glasgow, for example, makes more satellites than any other city in the UK, and almost any other city in the world. Suddenly the Scottish economy has improved and modernised, and Scotland itself has changed as a country. We're much more, some of us are much more, I think Welsh uses the word civilised. I think he gets spotted using the word civilised. And the old elements, the Sick Boys, the Rentons, the Begbies. Renton has made he turns into a capitalist, so he's kind of the more probably modern than the other ones. But the other ones are definitely throwbacks to old Scotland, Scotland of the 70s and 80s, which was just completely and utterly run down, and there was nothing to live for other than, drink, drugs, and, choosing a football team to fight for. And I don't think, so the story that Welsh is kind of telling here, the understory he's telling is, Scotland's changed, but, the old elements are still there, and, the two don't necessarily mesh well together. And that's probably true. I mean, if you look at the underbelly of Scotland, where there's still elements of sectarianism, there's still football violence, if you look at the members of two Glasgow football clubs who regularly embarrass Scotland on a world stage by the stupid songs they sing and the stupid acts they do when they're abroad, but the things, the past still hasn't left Scotland, despite how modernised Scotland's gotten. And Welsh is kind of raising that point here in the book, and it's a well-made point. You can understand where he's coming from with it, in the same way that Sick Boy kind of uses modern media, if you like, in terms of pornos to modernise and make the new set of money. It's still he basically is still acting like an old school pimp to do it. So it's the two elements of the old and new coming together is basically where this book is. I appreciate all those bits. I get all those bits, and I understand what Welsh is saying. However, I still didn't enjoy the story. I don't enjoy the characters. So it's one of those ones where I can appreciate how clever Welsh has been, and I can appreciate the things he's saying. I'm not necessarily enjoying myself while doing it, while reading it, I should say. Yeah, okay, so that's probably close to enough about it. Is there anything else to say about it? No, I mean, it's a relatively thick book for what it is. I mean, 482 pages in the version that I read, and it's kind of got the same problem in that it's almost too short and too long at the same time. There's certainly elements that could have been chopped out and made a shorter book, and this seems to be my particular bugbear for a lot of these books, which is, I feel they've been edited loosely. And they're a lot longer than they needed to. However, he could have written a lot more on the same subject. Completely conversely. It's I mean, and I like Irving Welsh. I really do, and I respect his politics. He's quite an old school lefty. Despite at various times claiming he's a Tory, he's a Labour, but he supports Scottish independence, and his politics do seem to be a little bit all over the shop at times. But he's very much pro-Scotland. Regardless of what he writes in his books, he can sometimes come across as very anti-Scotland. It's really, really not. He's very, very pro-Scottish. I think the book could have been... It's hard for me to critique the other elements of the book because I disliked it so much. I dislike the story. I mean, I like the elements, but I don't like the story. So... I should probably end the review before I start saying something silly about it. So yeah, okay. Porno. By Irving Welsh. Should you read this book? This is the one that we do in all these. It's a very much a depends. If you liked Trainspotting the book, and I say Trainspotting the book rather than Trainspotting the film because there's significant differences between the two of them. The film is far much more about the events and the characters than it ever is about the underlying elements about Welsh talking about Scotland. If you like Trainspotting the book, yes, read Porno. It's more of the same. You will enjoy Porno if you enjoy Trainspotting. If you didn't enjoy Trainspotting, if the Scots dialects threw you for a sideways glance, if they really didn't appeal to you, don't read Porno. Again, for the same reasons, because it's more of the same. I think that's probably a fair review. It's not changed my mind on the characters or the series. I still dislike books where it's terrible people doing terrible things. That's just the long and short of it. Okay, so next week will either be Captain Corelli's Mandolin, or it will be finally the Dark Tower. It will be one or the other, depending on whether I can finish the Dark Tower or not without throwing the book physically through the window. That's entirely that's entirely the basis for it. But that's 27 books down now. That's it's a fair whack of books through, over a quarter. There's still some thick ones to go, but we're definitely getting there. Definitely getting there. So yes, one of those two books will be Sunday's review. Probably Corelli's Mandolin, because there's still a big chunk of Dark Tower to go, but we're going to try. We're going to try. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Until Sunday, have a good evening. Goodbye.